And Nigel took the decision to call that by-election to reclaim the initiative. I think that was the idea, to reset it. At that particular time, I was unsure whether that was the right thing to do. He persuaded me and convinced me that it was the right thing to do. He's been proven right as far as I can see. I think one of the things that I would question is why the other parties didn't stand. I think in a democracy, Labour, Tories, the Lib Dems should have stood, and then you would have had a properly fair fight.
Special guest appearance, and very nattily dressed, I must say. We're joined by the former chairman of Reform UK, David Bull.
Hello, very good morning to you.
So nice to have you
nice
on. Now,
to see you.
Nigel Farage has won the Clacton by-election. He secured 63% of the vote. None of the other major parties stood against him, but Count Binface did manage to get 27%. Farage says he has beaten the establishment.
On the hottest day of the year, in the middle of August, in holiday season, we have secured far more votes than we got in the general election of 2024. And in doing so, we have beaten the candidate for the Uniparty. Yes, there were Liberal Democrats, Labour and Conservative canvassers out canvassing for Count Binface.
Well, David Bull, tell us, what has Nigel Farage achieved with this by-election victory?
I think quite a lot, actually. I mean, obviously, he got more votes this time. The vote share's gone up. That was good. This morning, I was up at 4:45, like an expectant father, waiting for that result. They hadn't actually declared until about 6 o'clock this morning.
Pretty much on the dot.
Which surprised me. And then, obviously, you've got... I mean, it could only be Britain, couldn't it, with 34 candidates, including a bin. And the bin did extremely well, 10,000 votes or thereabouts. So, I mean, I'm not speaking on behalf of the party, but certainly the whole thing about this 5 million quid from Chris Harborne was on every front page. I think all of you know that. And Nigel took the decision to call that by-election to reclaim the initiative. I think that was the idea, to reset it. At that particular time, I was unsure whether that was the right thing to do. He persuaded me and convinced me that it was the right thing to do. He's been proven right as far as I can see. I think one of the things that I would question is why the other parties didn't stand. I think in a democracy, Labour, Tories, the Lib Dems should have stood, and then you would have had a properly fair fight. Now, I think also there was, I don't know if this is true, but I think at the time it was thought the parliamentary standards investigation would disappear if there was a by-election. It clearly transpires it doesn't. It restarts now, so that parliamentary standards restarts. But here's the interesting thing. If he is found to have breached parliamentary rules, if he's suspended for more than 10 days, then there would be a recall petition. But then 10% of the electorate of Clacton would have to vote in favour. And I just get the sense, having been on the doorsteps, they just won't. So when I was campaigning in Clacton, I knocked on doors. I have never seen anything like it. I would knock on the door, people open the door and they say, "Hi, David." I have never had that level of recognition, the love for Nigel. There was also a real sense, actually, that people were sick and tired of what they believed was the mainstream media, the establishment conspiring against Nigel, against Clacton as well. And so I knew he was going to win. This morning I was less convinced about what sort of level he'd win at. So I think it moves the story on.
But it's interesting what you said earlier about it was thought it would end the parliamentary investigation. I mean, why didn't Nigel Farage just simply say, I may have broken the rules inadvertently. I'm prepared to submit to the Parliamentary Standards Commissioner. If he gives a verdict against me, there'll be a by-election and we'll give the people of Clacton their chance to have a verdict. Why did he have this kind of pseudo by-election?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting point. I mean, I wasn't privy to his thought process, and certainly, and I have argued on television before, it probably would have been advisable to declare it, even though it's not within the letter of the law, but to say, look, I got, it's not every day you get 5 million quid, is it? So I would probably have declared that and said I got £5 million. It was a gift for whatever it was, security, a benefit for Brexit or whatever it was. And that would have obviously looked much better, I think. But now where we are, the parliamentary standards will recommence. I honestly don't think there'll be another by-election.
But I mean, Farage must know that he's going to be under scrutiny all the time, particularly if he ends up becoming Prime Minister. There are some people, I'm one of them, who thinks it was a sort of petulant act to have this by-election and position himself against.
Well, so
the
that's really
establishment.
interesting. And if you watch the clips of Nigel, particularly when he was in an airport, I think it was, coming in, it was just the level of harassment. And I think when you're so close to it, when you're so tired, when you're so up against it, and I went on the record on another show and sort of said, actually, he's the best political operator I have ever met. And I think that goes without any justification. You can see the way that he speaks, the way he holds a crowd. I've worked with a lot of people, but he had got to the end of his tether, and he's human. And I made the point that actually I think it would be good for him to have a break, and that probably didn't go down very well with the boss. But I stand by what I said. And now what I think is going to happen is that he is now very emboldened by this. And he made some quite interesting comments about Kent, Essex, the estuary. And I have been to all of these places. I spent the last year going around the country. So I've seen 30,000 people around the country. And it doesn't matter if I'm Wales and Scotland or wherever, York or Essex, the level of support just seems to be going up and up for Reform UK, and people coming up to me and saying, you're our last hope.
But the polls don't show that. I mean,
the polls don't.
Reform are doing sort of early 30s, very well established.
31 we were at.
Now about 24, 25.
Yeah.
Tories getting closer, Labour overtaking them in the polls.
You've got a slight burn and bounce, haven't you? But not by much, actually. And then you've got us, we've dropped down to, 22, 23 or thereabouts, depending on the poll. But, we were at the head of the polls for the last year. It's very difficult to stay there. And, of course, the passage of time means that people are disaffected, people have moved all over the place. Look, the true test is any election, and we've just had one.
I mean, I think you admitted there that this whole exercise was incredibly cynical. It was designed to deflect from this parliamentary investigation. It hasn't answered that question about the £5 million. The only question it's answered is Nigel Farage popular in Clacton? Well, yes, he is. I mean, we already knew that.
But if you remember, lots of journalists were saying he's not popular in Clacton, he's never there, the electorate won't vote for him, and what we have shown is that's not true.
Do you think the attack on the press is the right strategy for reform? I mean, they've actually accused the Sunday Times of being a Labour-supporting paper.
I'm not chairman.
Who gave very difficult time to Keir Starmer, has given Nigel Farage a very difficult time, but based on an actual fact that he has to answer.
So, look, I'm not chairman. I don't speak for Nigel. I'm not privy to any of this. I've stepped away for the moment. I've gone back into broadcasting. I am a journalist, so I like politicians, to treat journalists with respect and dignity and to answer their questions. We have different modus operandi, as you know.
David Bull, you've been an absolute treat to have on the show, if I may say so. It seems to me that you ate 3 shredded wheat this morning.
Well, that's very kind.
I don't know how many more media rounds you've got to do.
Got a lot, actually.
But you're on fire. It wouldn't even surprise me if you went out clubbing.
No, I've got a 3-hour show on tour.
So, thank you so much for coming on. That's David Bull, and we will come back to Cindy and Alice's views on what we just heard from David Bull, as well as Cindy's views on clubbing at university. But first, slightly late, we'll get the news with James Kitchen.